and welcome to a packed conference hall here at Chelsea Football Ground, Stamford Bridge. I'm Charlotte Leslie, I'm the Director of the Conservative Middle East Council, and I join you at WiMENA, Women in MENA, Women in Sport conference here in partnership with the Arab British Business Council. We have an extraordinarily high-profile lineup to start today's conference with, and it promises to be an extraordinary day. At a time when there is such enormous global political turmoil and conflict, including in the region, some might say it's frivolous or irrelevant to be talking about a cultural issue like women in sport. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Sport changes lives, changes communities, societies, nations, and indeed global politics. It's the context against which global politics takes place. The progress that's been made in many MENA countries must be seen to be believed. And today we're going to be looking at how far we've come and how far we still have to go. It promises to be both an inspiring, uplifting, and I'm sure in places challenging conference. To begin with, we heard from Baroness Symons of Vernham, Chair of the Arab British Chamber of Commerce, before contributions from other very distinguished speakers. Her Royal Highness Princess Reema bint Bandar Al Saud, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the US, His Royal Highness Prince Khalid bin Bandar, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the UK, Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, the Foreign Office Minister for the MENA region, and former para-Olympian Baroness Tani Grey-Thompson. And to conclude our morning session, we had superb sports lady rugby player Katy Storie, who is now head of sport for Newcastle University.
With one girl and her dream to play, to work, to be different, to fail, to commit.
Thank you to all of you for being here. It's terrific to see the support that this meeting today has brought forward. And lovely to see so many friends here, as well as many people coming for the first time. So I am delighted that this very special occasion is taking place. And of course, it is setting up of the wonderful organisation, Women in the Middle East and North Africa, WiMENA, as an organisation. That is the important thing, and the thing that I hope we're all going to go home and think about some more in the future. So today we're concentrating very particularly on sport, although of course WiMENA also covers commerce and industry. But today is the day for sport and for women's increasing participation in sport and in exercise, and encouraging girls and young women to develop their sporting capabilities to their fullest capacities for enjoyment, yes, but also, of course, for being able to take part in international sport in the way that so many young women are these days. I would particularly like to give a very warm thank you to His Royal Highness Prince Khalid and to the team in the Saudi Embassy for all their support. They've been really terrific, and it's been enormously helpful in getting today together. I also want to thank not only Tara, but Laura Curtis, and of course also the Arab British Chamber of Commerce, Prince Khalid, as I said, the team there, the sponsorship that we've had from the Saudi Bank, and also from Portas and Wesserman, all hugely appreciated, as has been the help from the Arab British Chamber of Commerce. But of course, today's meeting simply wouldn't be happening at all were it not for the commitment and the indefatigable energy of Tara Thomas and Laura Curtis, who've set up Today and WiMENA. They have been unstinting in their support throughout the groundbreaking exercise, and together with, as I say, the Arab British Chamber of Commerce, they've been able to bring together so many people for whom this is, I hope, going to be a memorable event. None of this would have been possible, of course, without the Bank of Saudi, Portas and Wesselman, who I think I've mentioned already. The endeavours on sport in the future for our young women, and may I say, for our mummies as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, hello everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to talk to you today, and I hope that through this event you'll see the enormous opportunities that exist in sports in our region, the Middle East, and specifically Saudi Arabia, and the tremendous progress that's being made, especially for women, and the exciting future that's opening up for athletes, spectators, and investors. And I'm so proud of the great progress that women have made in sports in Saudi and across our full region. Sports are a powerful force for the advancement of women, both in my country and around the world. And through sports, women can not only achieve their dreams on a pitch, a court, or a field, but also drive social change. Female inclusion in sports also means fostering a safe space for our women and all participants. And so much has changed for women in Saudi. Today, we not only have women's sports leagues and federations, we have more than 330,000 registered female athletes, and we have thousands of women coaches, mentors, referees, and doctors. And more women are participating across sports in their local, regional, and international competitions. And more than that, they're winning. And we have a rapidly growing sports industry that's supporting some of the best programs, facilities, and events in the world. So here we are, investing and committing to sports as part of a comprehensive program to be the best version of ourselves, to improve and enhance quality of life for our people in line with Vision 2030. And because sports is not just about competition or physical activity, it's about empowerment, it's about confidence, and it's about breaking barriers. So participating in sports, I believe, builds character and resilience, and it teaches us the true value of hard work, discipline, and teamwork. And through sports, we're learning to push our limits, to overcome challenges, and strive for excellence. And so please lend your support to female athletes, coaches, and leaders, and let us create a world where women feel empowered to pursue their sporting dreams. Let's work together to build this future where every woman has the chance to discover her passion, unleash her potential, and shine so brightly on and off the field. So ladies, let's play ball. Thank you.
Well, that was a terrific and an inspiring introduction from Her Royal Highness. And now, if I may, I'm going to turn to our next speaker, His Royal Highness Prince Khalid bin Bandar Al Saud.
Thank you very much, Baroness Symons, and good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. You've heard a fantastic introduction to the subject of women in sport in Saudi Arabia. But we're here to discuss women in sport in the Middle East, not just in Saudi Arabia. I can speak for Saudi, but it's important to remember how wide this issue is. Just in my lifetime, what I've seen in the development and change and the progression of women in sport, not just in the Middle East or Saudi Arabia, but across the world, is remarkable. We have recently joined that trend in Saudi Arabia, and in a very, very short amount of time, we have not just proven ourselves, but we have absolutely shocked the world with what we've done. Now, where does it come from? It's not accidental. At the heart of what we're trying to do in Saudi Arabia is to improve the quality of life of all individuals in the country. Not just citizens, not just men, but women and all those living in Saudi. Sport is at the heart of that, quality of life. Quality of life is not just for half the population, it's for the whole population. And sport has been an amazing, amazing tool for us to improve the physical and mental well-being of the people in our country. Physical in terms of sport, playing, schools, clubs, gyms, all that didn't exist 10 years ago for women. It plays a role in mental health in terms of the opportunities it creates, the jobs it creates. There are women not just sitting in our stands and playing on our pitches, they're administrating stadia, they're administrating in the ministry, they are outside the stands, they are security guards. All of those are opportunities created for women in a very short span of time because of one thing, sport. It is much, much greater subject than people give it credit for. And it is really important, and I am thrilled and pleased. You will hear some of them during the course of the day to hear from women in Saudi and in the region who are leading the way in being the next role models for the girls and women coming up through the ranks of Saudi Arabia. It's incredibly important. Now, for me as an ambassador, we have to deal with all these issues quite regularly and trying to represent my country really well. First of all, I'm incredibly proud to say that we now have women representing Saudi Arabia, as you just saw in the diplomatic corps, but lifting that flag across the world, on pitches, in stadia, around tracks, in the Olympics. This is a dramatic change for the country, and if we're to have that quality of life that we are striving to achieve, it needs to be for all of us, for all people in Saudi Arabia. And that's what we're doing. There are many detractors out there, many people who will criticize, look at the past, and tell us what's wrong. Well, my message is we're leaving you behind, and it's the women of Saudi Arabia that are running past you and leaving you in the dust. It's a magnificent event. It's an incredibly important subject, and we want to see more of it. So thank you all for coming, and I would like to make one apology, is that I have to leave right now. Coincidentally, today is my daughter's sports day at school. Both my daughters. A day I can't miss. Having just asked you to encourage and to support, I need to go do the same. But hopefully I'll rejoin you at the end of the day after the sports day is finished. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you have an incredible afternoon. And I will see you soon, inshallah. Thank you.
Well, Your Royal Highness, I'm sure we all wish your daughter great success today. Good luck to her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on to Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon. I expect many of you know that Lord Ahmad and I sit on opposite sides of the House of Lords, but I have to say he's an extraordinarily well-briefed minister, and he does something that not all ministers always do. He answers the questions that have been put, and he is enormously well regarded on all sides of the House. So will you please welcome Lord Ahmad.
Well, good morning and assalamu alaikum, and thank you for that very kind introduction. You know, as I was coming here this morning, I'm delighted I was joined by Siddiqa, my wife, as well. And women inspire not just other women, but they inspire men as well. I've been very fortunate to have a guiding hand of incredible, inspiring women from the early childhood of my mother, when I was stuck on fractions and thought that maths or finance was not for me. She made me break through those. God, those were hard days when sitting through, hearing your siblings playing in the garden and you having to do fractions in the kitchen on the dining table. And then in politics and in my professional life in banking, each time when there was a barrier, the person who helped me overcome was a woman leader, inspiring. I'm really grateful to women in the Middle East and North Africa and the Chamber of Commerce for bringing us together. Apart from Baroness Symons, who's always very kind, and she herself has served as a minister in a previous government, and also very knowledgeable about the Middle East. I'm truly delighted and indeed honoured to be here with my really esteemed colleague, indeed a dear friend, Baroness Grey-Thompson, Tani, as I know her, and many who know her as friends. And I'm sure all of you know she is amongst the greatest of Brits. She is Britain's greatest, indeed, Paralympic athlete, with an incredible, not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, but 16 medals. Let's hear it for Tani.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the kind invitation to be with you today. And it's always a pleasure to share a stage with, I think I'm able to say it in this context, my noble friends. The House of Lords has its very own and very strange language, but one thing I think we're quite good at doing is finding solutions. Seeing success is amazing, but success in sport starts with a child. It starts on the street, in the park, in a school, whether it's an inspirational teacher, a parent, or a mum. And for me, it was my mum that had a huge impact on my career. My dad was an architect, and he knew how inaccessible the world was because he helped build it. Because till I came along as a wheelchair user, everything he built had steps and cobbles, which are just horrendous. But my parents saw that physical activity was a way for me to develop as a child. And I remember the point that my father sat down with me. I was 7 years old, and he showed me a book of amazing buildings around the world and had pictures of the Taj Mahal and the Sydney Opera House, and then he told me how they were all built, which as a 7-year-old is a little bit boring. But he told me the world was an amazing place, and I needed to travel. And to do that, I needed a really good job. And to get a really good job, I needed a really good education. And to get a really good education, I needed to be fit and healthy. So physical activity was just embedded in me from the word go. And a few years ago, he wasn't well. We didn't have much time left, and I wanted to say thank you. We're sitting by his bedside, me and my older sister. And I said to Sean, I'm going to tell Dad how much his words meant to me, how much of an inspiration it was, how those few words changed my life. And she said, he'll never remember. And I went, of course he'll remember. It's like the biggest moment in my life. He will remember it. And I said to him, do you remember that time? And he said, no, I've got no idea what you're talking about. Brilliant. Sean is absolutely crying with laughter. And a bit later he said to me, oh, I do remember it. Okay, great, thanks. And he said, actually, you were quite an annoying child and we just didn't want you living at home forever. Okay, slightly different to what I thought it was. But it shows that there are moments when we can encourage or we can detract from young people's vision of what they can do with themselves. And I grew up believing I could do anything because of my parents' passion for physical activity. And was physically active. My route into wheelchair racing, which was my sport, I'd love to tell you I was brilliant at everything. My route was by playing a million different sports, which I was really bad at. And I do remember saying to my mum, I'm going to play for Wales one day. And she said, okay, what sport? I went, rugby. And she went, well, you can't do that. What, because I'm in a wheelchair? And she went, no, well, and because you're a woman. Because, again, my age, women didn't play rugby because we were too delicate and, would get hurt and, we didn't have the right mental capacity to do it. I mean, it's not that long ago that the attitude towards women in sport was very different. So it's amazing to see the changes that we're going through. And when His Royal Highness talked about the past, I think we need to understand the past and learn from it, not criticise it, because we have to understand the past to understand where we're going. And it's about looking forward to all the amazing things that we can do. And if you look back to 2012, which I was hugely proud to have worked on the bid and the games for 10 years and legacy for 10 years, and in some way we're all working on legacy of those games. The 2012 games were known as the Women's Games in the UK because of the medalists and because of the stories and because of the inspiration. Now, Olympics, Paralympics can't do that on its own. There needs to be programs around it. There needs to be some investment. You can't just expect 2 weeks of an Olympics and 2 weeks of a Paralympics to change the world. But there's some of the keys that we can use to unlock the doors to change attitudes. And for me, in the Paralympic movement, it's a young movement. We've only really been going since 1960. And the movement only really started because of the Second World War. In the UK, life expectancy as a paraplegic or as a quadriplegic was between 2 and 5 years post-traumatic injury, and you were left in hospital to die. And what happened was Sir Ludwig Guttmann, who'd escaped Nazi Germany, came to the UK, and he was in charge of Stoke Mandeville Hospital, and they didn't have enough bed spaces for the number of war injured that were coming back. So he used sport and physical activity to rehab patients to get them out. And he was the person who, right from the late 40s, had the idea of creating the games when everyone told him you shouldn't bother. It's a bit like when we bid for 2012. We shouldn't bother because we're not going to win. Well, if we do win, we're not going to build it. Well, if we do build it, no one will buy tickets. If people do buy tickets, it's going to rain. And then it was amazing. But it's people who stand up to everyone saying, no, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, that they're the people who can change the world. And I remember in my very, very early years of being involved in wheelchair racing, somebody said to me, isn't it a really unfair sport? those barriers are being broken down. And we need to do it. And Lord Ahmed mentioned women in sport. And there's loads of incredible organisations that we're very lucky to have in the UK. Women in sport have their 40th anniversary this year. I was involved not quite 40 years ago. But the things we were talking about then, about coverage, sponsorship, media coverage, the portrayal of women in sport, we're still talking about some of those things, admittedly from a much, much better place. But that's why I think it's always important to look back, to look forward, to remember why we're trying to do it, because it's to change those young women and girls' lives, to make sure they have the same opportunity that I had, that many of us in the room had. We can do that. We can make the world a much better place. So thank you very much.
So good morning, salam alaikum, and thank you, shukran, for attending here today and being part of such what already has been so inspirational and will continue to be a fantastic day, celebrating everything that's women's sport and the future that is ours to develop and ours to take hold of. My name's Katy Storie. I'm the Director of Sport at Newcastle University. And you might think, what a strange kind of panellist to have up here. But actually, my journey as being part of sport in the Middle East has been a very interesting and very rewarding one. So we have a partnership with Princess Noor University in Riyadh. And we began developing partnership work around sport, particularly around women's leadership. And the embassy, the UK embassy in Riyadh, spotted this as an area that they really felt that we could offer some support to across Saudi Arabia. So we now deliver in Dammam, Riyadh, Jeddah and Medina, and looking to move across into Al Ula and Taif. And I also work with the Alliance for Safeguarding in Kuwait, UAE, and inshallah, Oman. So I have been incredibly privileged to have worked across the GCC in the last couple of years. It wasn't an area that I ever thought I really would be delivering in, but I'm incredibly pleased that I have, which means that this panel today is very close to my heart around unlocking sporting potential, because I see that potential every time I visit those countries, every single time. I see it in the younger leaders that I see coming through the ranks, and I also see it in the women who are thoroughly embracing the opportunities they have available to them now. And the probably biggest impact for me and understanding is that when we go and deliver, we take ex-international female athletes, and it's how the role models are used over there. And that's certainly something that we'll come on to later in one of our other panels. And every time I go, the landscape has changed. Okay, and I mean that rapidly evolving landscape, and it is just amazing to see. So I'm very, very pleased to be here today. My sporting background is I played rugby for England, hence the cheering earlier from Tani's comments about rugby. I played a long time ago now, and you will hear from a player later on today who plays the same position as I did, only 10 times better. So it's lovely to see how women's sport has developed over the past 20 years. And we had a few conversations earlier actually with a couple of people in the room around having that rapidly evolving landscape in MENA provides massively innovative opportunities for us to be able to speed up those developments, as long as we share collaborative experience, as long as we support each other to make that change. And I think that's the key there. When we sit there talking perhaps on panels, etc., about learnings from the UK, it isn't about how we've done things better in the UK at all. It's global challenges that we all face around women's empowerment, around women's in sport. So therefore, those solutions have to be global as well, which is going to require collaboration. And that's why we're all here today. And I think there's always that temptation to go, well, if somebody's more successful in medal count, if somebody's had a much longer standing, for example, something like Title IX or a higher profile commercial offering for women's sport, that they must be leading in some way. And I think some of the experiences that I've certainly had in the GCC, it's definitely not the way. And I wanted one example I just wanted to give, and I don't know if he's here today. Ali Al-Jajani is the president of the Saudi Rugby Football Association and Rugby Football Union. And being an ex-player myself, we connected really well, and he had a session with Sonny Bill Williams coming in. If you know rugby, Sonny Bill Williams is an absolute legend of the game, multiple world champion, etc. And Ali said, I know you're in Riyadh once Sonny Bill Williams is coming over. Did you want to meet him? And I was like, yes, like really excited. He said, oh, come for breakfast. So I went over and met Sonny. He was a lovely guy. I met him for breakfast. He said, oh, you're coming to the talk, right, that Sonny was doing? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, brilliant. You get there a little bit early. I said, yeah, okay. So I went across the Ministry of Sport and I arrived and I said, hi, Ali. I said, so can I just sit anywhere? So he goes, no, your seat's down there. And I said, oh, what, do you need me near the front? He goes, no, you're on the stage. And honestly, and I just went, no, this is an event for Sonny Bill Williams. He went, no, you played international rugby. Why wouldn't you be on the stage? And the biggest shift for me, and I'm being really honest, is I never felt that equal in a UK-based panel. And I've had plenty of support. But when it came to the Q&A session, it was really interesting because the Saudi people in the room asked me as many questions as they asked Sonny Bill, but the expats in the room all asked Sonny Bill the questions. And I think that's really, really telling, and it really struck me as, hang on a minute, we have an opportunity here to start things from scratch, afresh. And I felt more valued, perhaps, there in that room on the stage in Saudi. And not many people would have thought, that they would hear that from a woman playing sport compared to perhaps in my own career and what we've come through in the last 20 years in this country. So I do think that's really powerful, that kind of global change and global solution.
Later in the Women in Sport conference, we were inspired to hear from a number of extraordinary sportswomen from the Middle East and North Africa. Introduced by Karen Webb-Moss, Chair of More Than Equal, we heard from Burca Cetinkaya, the Turkish rally driver, Sarah Assam Hassanin, the Egyptian football player and commentator, and Lama Alozan from the Saudi Athlete Committee.
I'd like to say a big thank you for being invited to speak to here today at the WiMENA conference. It's a subject very close to my heart. I've spent more decades than I'm going to admit working with the development of women in sport, promoting women in sport, and trying to be a role model for women in sport. And someone said earlier, which is very profound, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Now, my journey was probably very different. I was the second woman that came through men's professional football as a referee. So I think you can probably guess what that journey looked and felt like. Most of it I couldn't repeat in this room. It would be inappropriate. But to say, when I started refereeing, football wasn't even recognised for women in the Football Association. It was banned in 1921, not appropriate for women to play football. They showed too much flesh. And in 1974, a group of women developed the Women's Football Association, a voluntary group. They were absolute pioneers. And it wasn't until 1994 that women recognised women in football in any guise. So you can imagine the barriers there was in those days. And my goodness, do you know how good it is for my heart to see where we are now with women in football? You know, they're the only ones to bring home the silverware so far. I'll just put that in there. So I don't want to waste too much time talking about me. We've got an amazing panel to share with you. And I think particularly following on from the last panel, which was unlocking sporting potential, my goodness, when you hear from these ladies, they are the potential. They've lived that journey. They are amazing. So our panel is sporting role models with a focus on setting the bar for future generations. You know, I'm the same as many parents. I always told my children, within reason, don't let anybody tell you you can't. That you can't reach for the stars. You can't achieve your dreams. And these girls are going to share with you how they've achieved their dreams. And I'm totally in awe with this panel. I have to say that to you. So to start with, and I don't want to take up any of their time, Burca, Formula One woman in sport, she's going to share her journey.
So, hello everyone. I'm actually very excited to speak here. I'm speaking here as the chair of the Women in Motorsport Commission in the FIA, which is the top governing authority for the motorsport activities. But I'm a race driver myself, and actually I was the maybe the first race driver, rally driver in the Middle East Championship. I'm from Turkey originally, and in the first to be on the podium against male competitors in the years 2012, 13. But here I am not here to talk about myself, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of hilarious women, and that's why I'm very excited, because it's easy to talk about yourself, but to talk about others is more of a responsibility. And in 2009, the Women in Motorsport Commission in the FIA was established to promote gender equality in motorsports. The Commission aims to increase women's involvement in the sport and serve as a networking and mentorship hub from 2024. It seeks to capitalize on growing interest in equality and support FIA's new equality, diversity and inclusion agenda. The Women in Motorsport Commission strives to improve performance, raise awareness, promote education, foster engagement, and enhance connectivity. To realize this objective, the Commission has implemented a range of programs and projects that I took over very recently, a few months ago, the role of the FIA in promoting women in sport. So there are FIA Women in Motorsport initiatives, such as FIA Girls on Track Rising Stars, which was finished and reached a conclusion in the end of 2023. Engagement and education, which is still going on through FIA Girls on Track, internship, and the new mentoring program we're going to be launching very soon. And connectivity and networking through FIA Women in Motorsport networking events, which we're going to have another one in Le Mans in the 13th of June. And partnership and collaboration with international organizations, such as being here today, and more than happy to be collaborating with More Than Equal also, hopefully more, and many more important organizations there are. And the impact part is increased visibility of women in sport, which is very important, especially also in motorsports, and creating opportunities and reducing barriers for women in motorsports. I'll just give a few examples just to have an idea. Lella Lombardi from 1975, she's actually the only woman to score points in Formula One, and she participated in 17 Formula One Grand Prix between 74 to 76. Michèle Mouton, who was the first president and the long president of the Women in Motorsport Commission, which happens to be my hero as well. She is the only and the first, and she didn't win just one race. She won many WRC events at the top level, at the highest level, marking history. Danica Patrick was the first woman to win an IndyCar race in 2008, and Jutta Kleinschmidt was the first woman to win a Dakar race, followed by Cristina Guterres afterwards. So just quickly to go over FIA Girls on Track. Yes, for the performance part, the Rising Stars was completed, but there is something actually very important to go over there, is that from the FIA Rising Stars, we have actually right now, we can see the results. In the 2024 season, in the Formula One Academy, we have Maya Voig, Dorian Pin, Bianca Buscamante. They were all past participants. Of course, their remarkable careers is not just the FIA interaction that made them achieve their goals to this point, but it is very important to increase the base of the pyramid and to help women have more visibility. So you can see the results also in the World Endurance Championship that are still ongoing. And some more stories from success stories that actually crossed paths from the Women in Motorsport Commission. Rally driver Rachel Somashini is also a great example. She is racing for a cause. She suffers from cystic fibrosis, a condition she was born with, but she is a fighter and she is also performing very good results in motorsports. Sophia Florsch made European Le Mans history with being on the podium, and she's the first woman to score points on the Formula 3 races. Stephanie Travers started working with the Petronas team in 2019 as a trackside fluids engineer. So we are not just here to support the competitors in the world of motorsports, but in all aspects of motorsports. And now she's a deputy team principal at Team X44. And coming to the UK, Natalie McGloin also is a name that I want to for sure remember here. She is a tetraplegic rally driver, the first one in the world. and she's the president of the Disability and Accessibility Commission at the FIA with us. And now the second tetraplegic rally driver is from Turkey, actually, and she became recently a member of the Disability and Accessibility Commission as well. So to continue with what we are doing for women and what women are doing in the world of motorsports, the FIA Motorsport Engineering Scholarship was launched in 2022 with the aim of diversifying and enriching the motorsport engineering scene. And the partnership with Cranfield University is a unique global talent search. Now going on the positive side, impact of successful women. Of course, increased visibility, more media coverage and recognition of female pilots, positive effects on public perception and institutional support, inspiration, which personally, Michèle Mouton, as I said, was my hero and was my great inspiration. And through seeing what she had done, I had the courage to start motorsport late as 24 years old and to enter the World Championship event within 2 years, coming out of Turkey at the time where we didn't have a lot of international events. And right now we have a lot of international drivers also.
And our next woman speaker is Sarah. And Sarah is very close to my heart, Egyptian national football team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to congratulate the organizers for this event. I hope we have more of it. I'm very honored to be here today. Okay, I'll introduce myself quickly. My name is Sarah Assam. I'm 25 years old. I play football and I'm a civil engineer. I started in Egypt. As we all know, we lacked opportunities. We didn't have like an agent or like someone to really believe in you that you can make it and live alone and travel abroad and like as an Egyptian young girl and be able to play like professional football. So I struggled, I had challenges, as we all do, but I believed in myself. I had to really have my mentality tough, like to overcome the negativities and the success killers. So yeah, I became the first Egyptian and Arab to play football in the UK and Spain, professional football in Spain. Recently, my dream, like I was the official ambassador at the World Cup Men in Qatar as a woman with David Beckham. Can you believe that? I didn't believe it when they told me, but like an official ambassador with the icon David Beckham, to sit with him, to do the same role as him for the men's World Cup, not the women. So for me, like it feels great to open, like to break barriers and to give hope to the next generation and to like start by yourself. I really like when I was younger, I wanted to have like an Egyptian female role model who can be a civil engineer, who can play football like in Europe or in the UK. So I had a lot of struggles, and of course, like my family believed in me, and this something helped me a lot. I worked on myself. I even like did commentating on football with the BBC as an Egyptian for the first time, like an Egyptian woman with the BBC in London. It was like a dream for me. Like my mom told me, like, can you really do that? Like, have you done it before? So like the more you work on yourself, the more like doors will open for you. So I just want to say I'm very honored, I'm very grateful. I want to continue my journey. I'm hungry for more. I want to also say the funny thing is, like, of course, we all know Mo Salah. And when I became the first Egyptian to play in the UK, it was the same time that he signed with Liverpool. So everybody's telling me, Mo Salah, you are the female version of Mo Salah. Okay, it's an honor for me. He's the best, one of the best Egyptian footballers in the world. We all know that. But please, like, can you say my name? Like, don't say like the female version of Mo Salah. So yeah, thank you so much. If I kept on talking, I will not finish now. So I have a lot of stories. So I want to thank also my mom, my sisters for coming all the way to support me today. Yeah. My mom is telling me, she told me, like, tell me I'm your role model. Yes, Mama, you are my role model. She's my role model. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And I hope that we have more events like this to inspire the next generation of males and females in the Middle East and the whole world. Thank you.
Women in the Middle East and North Africa, where it hasn't always been easy in the past for them to take part in sport. And it is so open and so achievable now. And this is the key message. And Sarah is living, breathing example of how she's managed to cultivate her career in sport and not compromising her culture, which is amazing. Last but by no means least, I would like to introduce Lama, who is the vice chair of Saudi Athletics Commission. How amazing is that? This will show you how far Saudi has come with women in sport, and I am delighted to hear from Lama. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamal Fozan. I'm an athlete. I'm a fencer. I'm part of the Saudi Fencing Federation, and I'm also the vice chair of the athletes committee that is under the Saudi Olympic Committee. I was introduced to fencing when I was a teenager. Actually, I lived in France, and I saw fencing by coincidence. I never really thought that I could be a fencer. Fast forward, I had to go back to Saudi for my university. And back then, it's not like what we have now. There was no vision. There was no place for females to play sports. So I was introduced to fencing, and I had to go fence with the Bahraini national team. And step by step, I was introduced to the Saudi Fencing Federation and to the Olympic Committee, and we were able to create the first Saudi female fencing team. I never really thought that I could go pro. 1 year later, they said that there's the Olympics that's going to come up in 2016. Obviously, I was not by any means ready. And there's something called a wild card that comes from the International Olympic Committee. And they trained us for approximately 6 months. And the wild card was basically me and my other colleague. And I'm an EPS, she's a florist, so she went because the wild card was for a florist, and I was super, super proud of her. But the thing that I want to say is that there has been immense change now in Saudi, and that we are not going to participate just to participate. So we have a vision, we have a national sports strategy, we have amazing support from the government and from the Ministry of Sports. The minister is an athlete himself, and he understands firsthand what are the obstacles that athletes are facing, and what has happened today in Saudi is just absolutely amazing.